I've been wanting to do this reaction video for some time, but I have withheld, withdrawn, and thought about this for a while. So I'm way behind the curve. I understand this. There's lots of other reaction videos to the last season of Doctor Who. I saw another video by another YouTuber by the name of Beware. I'm going to put the link in the description below. I would very much like it if you'd go check his video out, listen to it. It's much more in-depth than what I'm going to talk about. Like and subscribe to him too. But I am going to touch on a lot of his points because he makes some really great ones. I'm going to summarize a lot of it. But here is the first big point, the overarching point that I want to address about this season of Doctor Who. A lot of people are talking about, well, this isn't really a retcon. This is a clarification of canon. And the reason that they use is referring back to a serial from the, I believe it was the Fourth Doctor, The Brain of Morbius. First, the people that are making this reference either have never seen that serial or saw it so long ago they don't remember the details. I would ask you, as Beware did, who is Morbius? Do you even know? Okay, that being said, you cannot use that as a justification for filling in some sort of canon by then creating a whole bunch of other plot holes. That doesn't work. There's a net loss here on canon, okay? And I'm going to explain why in just a moment. So let's start with that, the Brain of Morbius, and let's put that one to rest, okay? The Brain of Morbius is used as a justification for there being pre-Hartnell doctors. In other words, incarnations of the Doctor before William Hartnell. Okay, so in that episode, there is a view screen, and there are different incarnations that are shown there that, in the context of the story, are purported to be previous incarnations of the Doctor. And he reacts to them with surprise that, this computer has uncovered this information. Not that it has revealed information he wasn't aware of, but just surprise. So in the context of the Timeless Children, the Doctor is unaware of any incarnations prior to Hartnell, prior to that first one. So what? In The Brain of Morbius, he was aware of it, and then the computer somehow erased his memory again? That doesn't make any sense. That's not the point of the story. Yes, behind the scenes, the intent of the writers was to show previous incarnations. However, all the writers before and after that episode have completely ignored that piece of continuity. It's already been overwritten. Therefore, there is no plot hole to fill. Okay? Those incarnations presumably it's always been understood that those were previous incarnations of Morbius, not the Doctor. So let's put that one to rest, okay? And let's look at all the problems that are now created by this new continuity. And I said all, but what I really mean is, let's look at some of the big ones, because there are a lot that I'm not going to go through. Beware goes through many more, and there's a lot that he didn't even touch on that I'm not going to get to. There's just so much to address here. Okay, let's start with a recurring character, the Valeyard. Okay, now the Valeyard was said to be a future incarnation of I believe it was the Sixth Doctor. This was the whole point of a whole season. It was the trial of the Time Lord, okay? And the Valeyard was the prosecuting attorney. who was trying to demonstrate that the Doctor had committed some crimes against the Time Lords and needed to be eradicated. And his motivation for doing that was to receive the Doctor's remaining regenerations. This was because the Valeyard was actually a future incarnation of the Doctor who had run out of regenerations and needed those. First, if the Doctor is the timeless child, it's now established that he has infinite regenerations, so he would not need to obtain new ones. Secondly, we have not seen this Valeyard between the 12th and 13th incarnation, between the 11th and the 12th. So we have to assume he's a later incarnation after the current one. Haven't seen that. So it's a little problematic to be seeing prior incarnations prior to the first Doctor when we haven't even covered the Valeyard. But regardless, what is the motivation of the Valeyard? Why does he even exist? The Sisterhood of Karn. Okay, the Sisterhood of Karn was ironically introduced in the episode The Brain of Morbius. But we see the Sisterhood come back in Night of the Doctor when the 8th Doctor has died. And they use the elixir of life that they have created from the sacred flame, which is connected to the time vortex, to bring him back and restart his regeneration cycle. So they had to give back his regenerations when he's the timeless child and has infinite regenerations. And again, we're going to touch on this over and over again. The regeneration cycles come from the time vortex. If they now come from the timeless child, from the Doctor, first, the Doctor doesn't need them given back to him. He's got infinite regenerations. And secondly, then they don't come from the eternal flame, the time vortex. Again, throwing out a large chunk of already established canon. Also, River Song, her whole origin is completely undone by this. River Song is a human child who was conceived in the TARDIS that was traveling through the time vortex. And this is why River Song receives regenerations like a Time Lord. Well, if the regeneration is given to someone by the Time Lords, taken from the Doctor, then River Song's origin makes absolutely no sense. It's completely undone. The name of the Doctor, the whole episode, the whole point of this was that the Doctor was in his last incarnation without any more regenerations. But he needs to get another set of regenerations from the Time Lords in order to continue. Wait, no, he doesn't. He's the timeless child. He has infinite regenerations. So again, contradicting canon to try to fill in or at least to justify a perceived gap from one episode that's been completely forgotten and overwritten. In fact, it completely undoes the whole Trenzalore story. That was a great and brilliant story, but now there's no gravitas to it. He wasn't dying. He didn't need those regenerations. No problem, right? Omega and Rassilon. How do they fit in? Okay? Those were the two that were responsible for time travel. See, now, keep in mind, this was the progression. Rassilon and Omega created time travel. And it was a byproduct of this, the exposure to the time vortex, that they received regenerations and were able to provide those to other Time Lords. That came first. Time travel came first, then regenerations. The Timeless Child completely undoes that and says that the Timeless Child came to Gallifrey, the regeneration energy was taken from the timeless child. Now, because they are long-lasting, they have longevity, and they can develop their engineering, then they discover time travel. Again, completely undoes all of canon. In the name of the Doctor, Clara enters into the Doctor's time stream, and she is divided, and whether you like that story or not, it happened, okay? And she saw every incarnation of the Doctor from Hartnell on, okay? And she interacted with each one of them, even with the War Doctor, the one that the Doctor was specifically striving to forget about, but she saw him. Keep in mind, these are not just the ones that he remembers. These are all of his incarnations. This is regardless of his memory. It has nothing to do with memory. It has to do with actual time. There's no pre-Hartnell Doctors there either. Okay, it's a minor point. You could argue that she did encounter them and never said anything about them, didn't see any of it on screen. But that's a cop-out. That is entirely a cop-out. Ruth's TARDIS. That's another problem. That TARDIS that Ruth is flying around in is in the shape of a police public call box. The Doctor's TARDIS did not take the form of a police public call box until he, as William Hartnell and Susan Foreman, landed on Earth in 1963 at I.M. Foreman's junkyard. Before that, it did not look like that. It has only ever looked like a police public call box since then. It literally undoes the whole story of an unearthly child. The timeless child completely undoes the unearthly child. Let's just make that very clear what I'm saying. This most recent incarnation of the Doctor Who completely undoes the very first Doctor and his stories. And I'm going to get to that a little bit more in just a moment. The Shibogan. Okay, we now have a name for what a non-Time Lord Gallifreyan is, a Shibogan. And we know that not all non-time traveling Gallifreyans, the so-called Shibogan, have the ability to regenerate. It is something that only Time Lords have, and it happens to them when they are taken, they go to the academy, and they are exposed to the untempered schism, and they look into the time vortex. They receive their regenerations, 12 of them, giving them 13 incarnations, and if they're going to get more, they have to get them from the Time Lords. Then what was that all about with the Doctor having gone to the academy and receiving regenerations? The Doctor already had that ability. This is an innate ability that they know about, just like you have sight and are able to hear. You don't forget that you can see. You just know it. You don't forget that you can feel. You just feel it. Time Lords do not know that they can regenerate. They can recognize how much energy they have left. They know when their last incarnation is. They even recognize it in other Time Lords. But somehow this was erased from, it's like being hypnotized into forgetting that you can see. It's ridiculous. We've also established that the Doctor sucks at regeneration. He just does. He has a subconscious control over his regenerations at best. Whereas we have seen Romana, the Master, and even River Song have actual control. Romana literally chose what form she wanted to take. The Master has inferred that he has done the same thing. And River Song said she needed to concentrate on a dress size. And I don't believe she was joking. She was serious. So why would the one being in the universe who has this as an innate natural ability have to learn how to do it? Again, you could say memory taken away, blah, blah, blah. But that's a bigger stretch of the imagination than the so-called brain of Morbius paradox. Now, I want to get back to the Hartnell thing. Now, beware. Check out his video, please. Covers it in a much greater way than I ever could. But this really, really is an insult, not only to the fans, but to William Hartnell. William Hartnell literally played the Doctor through the end of his life. Even after his health was failing and he really should have retired, he continued to do it. And he specifically said that the reason he kept doing it was because it brought joy to children. Okay? That means something. That deserves honor and respect. And he's getting just the opposite. He is being dishonored and pushed aside and all but forgotten. Because now he's not the first. Now there was all these other people that went before him. Because he did what? He committed the cardinal sin of being a man? That's incredibly unfair. Maybe it's unfair of me to make that accusation, but the dishonor to that man is absolutely true. The reason behind it, I can't say, I'm only speculating. But the fact that it exists, it exists. Now, there is another justification that people try to use. They refer to something called the Cartmel Master Plan. The Cartmel Master Plan was this idea that it was during the Seventh Doctor's run that, and it was all in the writer's Bible. There was this idea, and they dropped some kernels in different storylines, that the Doctor was in conjunction with Rassilon and Omega. He was an entity called the Other, and that he was in some way responsible for, in conjunction with those other two, time travel and regenerations and the whole of the history of the Time Lords and their culture and their way of life and everything that they can do. The Doctor makes reference to this when he says to Davros in Remembrance of the Dalek. He says that he is far more than another Time Lord. This, is supposed to speak to his role as the Other. Now, people try to say that this is part of them trying to reestablish that Cartmel Master Plan. The problem with that is the Timeless Child specifically establishes that the Doctor has forgotten anything that took place before the Hartnell Doctor. So his role as the Other, his role in that Cartmel Master Plan is not remembered. Therefore, that would completely negate his ability to make reference to them as the Seventh Doctor. So I'm sorry, this whole Cartmel Master Plan as a justification is just as false and without merit as this Brain of Morbius justification. Just to be clear, they're just justifications. They are unnecessary. They are excuses for what the showrunners have done to canon. Now, a final plot hole that I want to kind of address is that taking away the restrictions on the Doctor and his ability to regenerate by giving him infinite regenerative power as an innate part of who the Doctor is, in the Doctor's genetics, not given by someone else, but eternal and always there. That means, and you can say the doctor had forgotten about it, but now that the doctor knows that she has this ability to regenerate whenever she wants, there's never a concern. You're never going to run out of regenerations. And there's other things that the doctor has done with that regenerative ability. We saw in The Name of the Doctor. The doctor uses his regenerative abilities to destroy a fleet of Daleks just by shooting laser beams out of his hands. Now there's absolutely no reason that the doctor can't do that at will whenever she wants to. And whenever she doesn't, she's just being lazy. We have seen the doctor heal. The doctor used this ability to heal River Song's hand, used the regenerative ability to heal Davros. So now every time the doctor encounters someone in need of healing and doesn't do it, she's just being a dick. She's just letting them suffer because there's no reason that she can't. Graham has cancer and she didn't know what to say to him. Now she can say, hey, guess what? I can space Jesus you and you're healed. That's the plot hole that is now created by all this. They're fixing a plot hole that didn't need fixing to create this situation. Brilliant. So what it comes down to is, and many other people have said it many other ways, some of them far more succinctly than I have. The current showrunner of Doctor Who, the current writers of Doctor Who, the BBC, do not care about the fans, do not care about canon, do not care about storycraft. It's that simple. That bothers me. That bothers most fans. That's why the ratings are the lowest that they've been in years. That's why so many people have stopped watching. That's point one. All of this has been arguing that canon has been ruined, destroyed, thrown out for no reason. That brain of Morbius thing is completely irrelevant. Okay? Now, my second point, the other argument that people like to make. They want to push all of this aside and say, can't I just enjoy it? Aren't I allowed to enjoy a thing? Can't you just let people like what they want to like? Obviously, you can enjoy whatever you want. I have no control over it, clearly. So you don't need my permission. However, if you are asking my permission, if you are asking for my blessing, then no, you may not have it. I will not give it because your enjoyment of it comes at the expense of what I have enjoyed. You are taking something that is no longer the thing that I loved, and I resent the hell out of that. Now, I know it's not your fault, but no, I do not condone it, and I do not give my blessing to it. You're going to do it whether I want you to or not, but don't ask for my permission. Okay? This is the same reason that when I order a pizza, I get half what I like and half what my wife likes. I don't just get what I like and tell her, well, can't you just enjoy the fact that I'm enjoying this pizza? No, I do not want to ruin her half of the pizza. I want her to be able to continue to enjoy it. You can't do that with a TV show with this much history. You can't have half of canon, okay? You either are operating within canon or you're not. Once you are not operating within canon, everything that's gone before it is wiped away. And now this is no longer the Doctor Who that I enjoyed. So yes, you can enjoy it. I no longer can. So why should I just be okay with you going on and enjoying it? when you don't give me the same courtesy. Okay? You can enjoy any popcorn film you want, any TV show you want. Why does it have to be the corruption of mine and the destruction of mine? That's all I'm going to say. That's one point I haven't heard anyone else talking about. Yes, you can enjoy it. And yes, it's perfectly fine for you to enjoy what you enjoy. Just understand that you are enjoying it at the expense of my enjoyment. And you have taken something from me that I cannot get back.